Thank you. Anushka Rastana, ITV News. Prime Minister, you talk about choices, and there are plenty of things you've chosen to spend money on. You've chosen to give bumper pay rises to doctors, higher than for nurses and teachers, and you've chosen to take these benefits off pensioners. Age UK say 2 million will be pushed into hardship as a result. So what do you say to those pensioners who are not well off, who feel that you are choosing to balance the books on their backs?
Well, so far as the winter fuel allowance is concerned, firstly, I would say it's not a particularly well-designed scheme, frankly, and I think everybody would concede that. I do think it's important that we make sure that the support is there for those pensioners who need it most, which is why we're pushing for the pension credit to be taken up and looking at other allowances. But equally, simply allowing national strikes to go on and on and on and not resolving them was costing the country a fortune. You can't build the economy, you can't grow the economy if you haven't got a basic transport system that's working. You can't grow the economy if people can't get back to work because they can't get the operations that they need. And we've got to get the economy going. And so that is why we've made the decisions that we have made. And on the pay review bodies, more broadly, it doesn't cover all of the disputes that we've had to deal with. What we know is the last government didn't set a framework for that when they started down the road of the pay review. And they put at least one of them in the cupboard of the buildings over the road and ran away from it. We can't carry on like that. We've got to make difficult choices. Thank you, Anushka. I've got Emily from Channel 4.
Emily with the Channel 4 News. Prime Minister, on prisons, what guarantee can you give to the public that no prisoner who is let out early will go on to harm anyone? Or is the truth that you can't guarantee that and that the early release scheme carries with it an undeniable risk?
Well, look, the first thing is, obviously we put in place a framework to ensure that we don't release those who create the greatest risk. That's a basic safeguard that we've had to put in. And I'm not pretending for 1 minute this is a decision I want to make. I spent 5 years prosecuting people and putting them in prison. The idea of releasing people who should be in prison because the prisons are too full and we don't have the places goes against everything I've worked for years. But we've got to face facts. They haven't built the prisons, the last government. They've pretended that you could have longer and longer sentences, send more people to prison, at the same time that you could veto or choose not to have a prison built near you. They were false choices, and here we are, without the prison places that we need. So what are the options available to an incoming government? Let the prisons get so overcrowded that we can't arrest people and put them before our courts? Would that have worked in the disorder? I don't think so. I was really clear in my mind that one of the main ways in which we're going to have to deal with the disorder was making sure those who were throwing rocks, setting fire to buildings on a Saturday or Sunday were facing the full face of the law within days. I had to create the conditions for that, because the alternative, you would be putting a question to me saying, how come all these people in disorder didn't even get arrested, have not been put before the courts and can't be sentenced? Because we haven't got any places. This is not a decision that I wanted to take. It's not a decision that any Prime Minister would want to take. And I can't tell you how shocked I was when I discovered the full extent of what they've done with our prisons. And it's going to take time to fix it. I can't build a prison by Saturday. We will fix it. We've already taken the measures that are necessary to make sure we can get through the disorder. But I shouldn't be sitting in the Cobra room with a list of prison places across the country on a day-by-day basis, trying to work out how we deal with disorder. But that's the position I was put in, and it's frankly not good enough. Thank you, Emily. Beth.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Beth Rigby, Sky News. Prime Minister, you say you want to build trust and be honest with people. You've got off to a bad start with pensioners who voted for you, and then you cut their winter fuel allowance, and it wasn't in your manifesto. You also said in the general election you had no plans to raise taxes beyond what you'd set out in your manifesto. Now you're saying something else. So can you please level with people? Are you going to raise taxes? And are you looking, when you talk about the broader shoulders, are you looking at taxes on working people? Or are you now looking at a range of wealth taxes on shareholders, homeowners, big business? Thank you.
But as I said in the campaign, in relation to working people, income tax, VAT, national insurance, we will not increase tax. I was clear before the election, I'll be clear again after the election. Obviously, the budget is in a number of weeks and the detail will be set out there. But I say again what I said before the election, which is we have to get away from this idea that the only levers that can be pulled are more taxes or more spending. Our number one mission is to grow the economy, to make sure that we are creating the money in the first place. That remains the number one mission. Nothing knocks that mission. And that's why it's really important we have a transport system that works. That's why it's really important we have an NHS capable of getting through the backlog. That's why it's important we have the National Wealth Fund, Great British Energy, that we unlock planning so that we can get on. All of those decisions are decisions we've taken in the first 7 weeks to make sure we get the economy where we need it. But we're going to have to take tough decisions. I did not cater for a £22 billion black hole. And that's because it wasn't on the ABR's books. We were looking at the available, as you were, the available material. But it wasn't there. The OBR didn't know about it. That's why they're conducting a review, is to find out why they didn't know about it. But £22 billion black hole on top of what we knew to be the situation is a problem that I'm not just going to pretend isn't there or that we can easily fix. We're going to have to fix it. We're going to have to fix it quickly, because I genuinely do not think that the politics where we simply pretend things can be done that can't be done is working. And we will do it straight away. That's why I call about sort of getting the rot out now. Because if we don't do it, if we paper over it, we know what's going to happen. It's like the damp or whatever. Anybody who's ever decorated a house knows how this works. Pretend it isn't there, paper over it, and guess what? In a year's time, it's 10 times worse. We're not going to do it that way. Thank you, Beth.